I'm going to talk about budgeting. It's called Mint. It's an app that's out there. Does anyone use a budgeting app now, or just any form of budgeting, whether it's Excel or just your own personal knowledge? I actually started using it this summer in an internship that I was in, so they talked about it, and it's actually very useful. And as you're getting older and going into whether you're going to grad school or into jobs, this is one of the most important things to talk about. So, just an overview. I'm going to talk about history and then just go into the app. I'm not going to go like fully into it, but just give you guys an explanation and how to use it, and then just go into the pros and cons of it. So, timeline. In 2006, Aaron Pasker created Mint Life, and I'm actually going to go into a little bit of the difference between Mint Life and the Mint app. So, and then in 2007, he released the Mint app. And in 2009, only 2 years later, Intuit actually bought it for $170 million because they realized how important this app was. So, Mint Life is a blog, and it was created in 2006, like I said, by Aaron. And he just wanted to show young professionals how to save money and spend wisely. So he created all these different articles about, oh, how do I have an affordable date for younger people? It's because you can't go out and spend $100 at dinner, so he teaches you how to save money and spend effectively. Also, how do you pay for college? Things like that. It's just helpful ways that he got out there and showed these students ways to do that. So his target audience was those young professionals because it's a great age to start budgeting. And it then became the #1 personal finance blog on the internet. And they actually do still have the blog, it's just in their Mint app now. So you can look at it online, you can look at it on the app. They still teach you ways on how to save money in that areas, but it's mostly about the budgeting app now. So when he created the app in September of 2007, he wanted to create a tool. He was giving people advice on how to save money, but he wasn't giving them the necessary tools for it. So he wanted to create all the features that he would personally like in the app. So he created budgeting features, he created goals, investments, showing you credit cards that you can look into, all these different areas that he thought would be useful for young professionals. So I'm just going to give you, this actually is available on the web, it's available on iOS, it's available on Google Play, but I'm just going to give you a brief overview of it. This video just shows you how to set up your account. So you'll set up all these different accounts, whether it's your bank account, your credit cards, any bills you have, so like Verizon bills, you can set up your college debt, anything like that, and it puts it all together to show you rather than looking at all different applications.
Welcome to Mint. Your first step to mastering your money with Mint is to link your financial accounts. Let's start by linking your primary bank. Select the name of your bank from the list or type it in the search bar. Sign into the account you made through your bank. And Mint will populate your account automatically. Go ahead and add each of your credit cards, your loans, and other financial accounts. Now you'll see everything you need to know about where you stand, simplified in one place. Next, let's unlock your credit score. Type in some brief information and Mint will populate your score without affecting your credit. Your score will update every month, so you'll always know where you stand with credit. It's as simple as that. You'll see your account's total and credit score at the top of the app at all times. Mint doesn't just help you manage money, we redefine the way you do it, simply and seamlessly.
So now I'm going to look at just a little bit of the features in the app. So the budgeting is the #1 area, obviously that's the whole goal of it. So like he said, you put in your cash, which is just what's ever in your bank account or other accounts, and then your debt. So as you can see, they have more cash to debt in this example, but they do have a budget, and you can see for this cash flow that they have their earned versus their spent. So you can look at what you are actually spending in. So on this right-hand side, you can break your budget into different areas, whether it's gas, alcohol, bars, groceries, rent, anything that you can think of, you can break it down into, and you can determine how much money you should spend. And obviously, different times of your life, you're going to want to spend more money in different areas. So right now you might have more money in your alcohol and bars, but later in life you might have more money in your rent, and your kids, and their stuff like that. So you can change your budget anytime you would like. And it shows you what you're actually spending your most money in. And so that's what's useful to me, is that you can see where you're really spending your money. And like you see on that alcohol and bars, they're over by $24. And I tend to get a lot of alerts when I'm over on my shopping for the month. But you can get alerts, which is one of the cool areas. It shows you, hey, you're getting close to this amount of money. Hey, you went over it. You went over it by $50 this month. But it's useful because you still can see, hey, you went over, but you still are making more than you're spending. So you know what you're doing, because you just gotta draw back in certain areas. So you could drop your budget there if you went over. And then another cool feature that they have is setting goals, this is what I think is really useful in it. So you can create a goal, whether it's paying off your credit card debt, that $18,000 that was on the other one. You can plan for a trip. Say you're going to spring break and you have how many months to figure it out. So for me, I did travel because I love to travel. So I went in there and I looked at like, oh, this Christmas break, I'm going to Florida. So I put in my destination, I'm flying there. I'm only there for, I think, like 7 or 8 days. There's 4 of us traveling. And so you look at your flight information, how much your hotel's gonna cost, your car rental, everything like that, and you put in how long you have until you get to this example, until this destination. And it'll tell you how much money you should be saving every single month. And you kind of just put that in your budget. You say, oh, I'm gonna need to save this every single month, which is very useful because you don't really think about it. You think about, hey, I know how much money I have and I know how much money I can spend, but you don't think about your long-term goals as much. So this was really useful for me to be able to look at it and be like, well, I really need to start saving soon if I want to save up for this trip. And it's one of their really cool features. So looking at the pros and cons of the features, so a lot of the pros are that you can receive weekly summaries. So I get a notification every week, hey, your summary's up, look how much you spent this month, look how much you spent this week. You can get alerts, like I said, on whether you're over your budget or you're close to your budget. And you can get those just popped up on your phone. You can get text message, you can get emails any way you would like. You can also, the budget and goal setting, which is really useful for anyone. You can export your transaction data. So you're like, wow, I've really been spending a lot of money in this certain area. How do I drop myself down? And you can look at all the money you've been spending. Maybe you're like, I don't need this, I'll return it. The credit score, which you talked about, which is really useful. I mean, I know you could get this on probably your credit card, but putting all of your accounts together and then looking at your total credit score, which is really useful in there. And that 2-factor authentication, which was one of the biggest concerns I had getting into this app, was, is it secure? So because you're putting every single one of your accounts on there, on this free app that you're unsure if people are using your information or whatever. So they actually, when I went to research it, they have a major security. The 2-factor authentication, they set it up just like it's a bank account. They're locking your account down. And it's just a read only, actually. So they just read your bank accounts. They don't see anything behind the scenes of it. They only see your transactions on there. So that's what I thought was super useful. It is very secure. But going into the cons of it, it doesn't have a lot of investment features. It teaches you about, hey, these are the credit cards you can look into based on your spending. So I buy a flight almost every couple months. This is the credit card you should probably look into getting flyer miles. So it's successful on that end, but it's not like, hey, put your money into this stock, because stocks change so frequently and they didn't want to have to be in charge of that if something happened to your money. They didn't want to have that on them. One of my biggest issues with the app is the synchronizing. So every single time I go onto the app, I have to redo my bank account, my major bank account. So it's already in there, but I have to send a text message to myself and then get the text message code and type it in, and then it updates. So it should just do that, but it doesn't. So that's one of the biggest concerns with it. But it's not a horrible issue. The report generation isn't great. I mean, you can see some things, but not as much. There's no reconciliation. So it just sees your bank account and just thinks, this is right, even if it's not. So there, you can't go back and change it, you have to change your budget then based on what your bank says. And there's no bill pay. They used to have bill pay where you could just pay on the app any one of your bills that you have, your Verizon bill, your water bill, whatever. They got rid of it because I guess it wasn't being utilized as much as they wanted it to be. Because a lot of people were just doing it through their bank account rather than on this app, which was just normal. So overall, I really like the app. It does have some issues, as you can tell, but I use it and I personally think it's so great to be able to be like, wow, I really need to drop back on my shopping. I need to be able to budget more in this area. So it's a good tool for that, and especially going into jobs where you're gonna have to go to rent and things, especially if you move out of the state, you know, rent changes, price of living changes, so you need to justify to that area. So I love the app, and I would personally recommend it to anybody. And these are my references. Any questions?